ATP, what it do? It's your boy Clay More Rain. Look, guys, 2 in a row. No. And salute to all my subscribers. If this is your first time tapping into the content, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. Hit your bell icons as well, so you are getting alerts when all this content is dropping. Yeah, guys, 2 in a row, man. I'm trying to do some catching up here, man. I want to tap in because February is a big month here for boxing, right now. The year is just the first quarter of the year. We have some great fights that have been lined up. David Morrell, David Benavidez kicked off the year with a great event. I mean, there was a couple of fights before, but the first pay-per-view, right? Like the first big event. Well, we're following up this Friday. We've got Keyshawn Davis getting ready to get his first opportunity to become a champion, fighting the current WBO 135-pound lightweight champion in Dennis Berinchyk. And, this fight is an interesting fight because, this time, well, let's say 2023, at the end of 2003, looking at Keyshawn Davis, you thought he was getting ready to go ahead and really just show out in the game, right? He really was talking a lot about what he planned on doing in the game, especially at 135 pounds with Gervonta Tank Davis there. But people were all saying he was talking too much, right? Keyshawn, you're saying too much. You haven't done enough in the game to be talking the way you're talking. And then running into the issues he had after fighting Nihir Albright and, getting that victory, a close victory that some people even thought he lost the fight. But the real irony and twist to the end of that is a few weeks later, he popped on a marijuana test. Texas went ahead and pulled away his win in that fight, made it a no contest, and suspended him. Now, a lot of people were giving that up to Keyshawn Davis's lack of maturity, lack of experience in the game. He was fighting it a little bit, felt like he was treated unfairly, that smoking marijuana didn't help him in the fight at all, and suspending him, and more importantly, taking that win off his record might have been going a little overboard. Either way, the way you got to look at those situations, right, is you don't make the rules, and one thing is you got to learn to focus on the things you can control and let God deal with the rest. Keyshawn Davis having the circle he did around him in Terrence Bud Crawford and Bomac and even Shakur Stevenson, the Andre Wards of the game, he has a lot of experience and a lot of maturity. A lot of mature guidance around his circle, right? And he was able to come back from that, start off 2024, going into that year to go ahead and get that fight that he almost lost because he was supposed to get a fight with Jose Pedraza, and they pulled that off the table pretty much. But the opportunity came out again for him at the beginning of 2024. He started the year off with a bang, stopped Jose Pedraza. You guys know he had a great 2024. I'm talking about fight of the year candidate type of resume for 2024, and a very competitive year where a lot of fighters were having comeback of the year, right? You get Daniel Dubois making his comeback. I mean, just when you're talking about comeback of the year, there were some fighters in the conversation, and Keyshawn Davis was definitely in that conversation. Well, he worked his way back up through the rankings, through public eye. He had a son, got focused, got humbled, got closer to his God, and just became a better fighter as well as a better person. We saw him evolve in front of our eyes, and here we are today getting ready to go into a fight on Friday against Dennis Berinchyk, not known like that, older fighter, but made his introduction, you can say, to the boxing space as somebody to look at by getting a win off of Emmanuel Navarrete, current WBO 130-pound champion who made a move up to 135 pounds to try to become champion at 135 against Dennis Berinchyk. Dennis Berinchyk able to expose Emmanuel Navarrete in a few different ways, bringing that pedigree, bringing that movement, bringing that IQ that he brings to the table. I'm spinning on my mic. Bringing that IQ that he brings to the table, and was able to just outclass Emmanuel Navarrete for 12 rounds, and he was crowned the WBO champion. Here we are today. Keyshawn's worked his way up and got this fight with Dennis Berinchyk, and this fight makes the biggest difference in the world, right? So much going on at 135 pounds. The boxing space with the eye test is putting Keyshawn Davis as one of the front runners who they might want to see fight against Gervonta Tank Davis, the current face of boxing, some people might want to say. Definitely probably the face of 135 pounds at the minimum, right? But Keyshawn has to look and focus in on this fight with Dennis Berinchyk because everything rides on the backside of a victory. And we're going to talk about it right now. Is it going to have to be the right victory? Guys, I want you to go ahead and hit your memory go back in time a little bit. Let's talk about Jerron Boots Ennis versus Karen Chukajajin. Another Eastern European who shocked the world a little bit that night. Let's talk about it because this was their second fight. The first fight being Karen being on his bicycle for the fight, really not engaging as much, and people thought it was a boring fight. They threw shots at Jerron Boots Ennis for not being able to cut off the ring and stop Karen. Well, in the second fight, that once again nobody was asking for, especially Jerron Boots Ennis, a fight that he had to take in order to keep his IBF title, he fought Karen. And to the whole entire, in all of the world, in front of the world, Karen Chukajajin, I hope I said his name right again, shocked the world, right? Stood in the paint, kept it a mid-range fight, traded with Jerron Boots Ennis, was able to hit Jerron Boots Ennis with a lot of shots that people just couldn't believe was happening. Now, Jerron Boots Ennis won that fight, needless to say, right? He's an undefeated fighter and current IBF champion. But the backlash that Jerron caught at the end of that fight, why? Because the fight, in many a fan's eyes, was way more competitive than it should have been. They expected Jerron Boots Ennis, and maybe I did too as well, expect Jerron Boots Ennis to go ahead and run over Karen. But me being kind of like, at this point, realizing how these Eastern Europeans show up, I knew there was a chance that Karen could go ahead and make this fight a better fight than what happened in that first fight, and knew that Karen understood the weight and the opportunity he had in front of him and the weight on his shoulders that he had, because this might be his only opportunity at a title shot, right? Being that he's a fighter who's not really known, being a fighter who didn't really give a good performance that first time. A lot of fighters aren't going to be looking to fight him. He knew how important this was going to be, and he changed it all up in that fight, and the fight became very competitive. Jerron Boots Ennis took a blow to his career that night. In spite of a victory, it ended up looking bad for Jerron Boots Ennis in the eyes of the criticizing boxing space, the mass that makes their decision, the casuals who make the decision on who's going to be the star, started to throw shots at Jerron Boots Ennis. Now, I bring that story up to bring it back full circle to where we are today, where we have Keyshawn Davis, an exciting fighter, just like Jerron Boots Ennis, a fighter who's they're comparing to fight against Tank Davis. I'll bring it back to where Jerron Boots Ennis was looking like a fighter who they wanted to see fight Terrence Crawford. He has a lot on his shoulders right now, and he has a fighter in front of him in Dennis Berinchyk that a lot of people, in my opinion, if you look at what the media is saying, the interviews are saying, it looks like they're kind of looking past Dennis Berinchyk, and I don't know if that's the best way to look at this fight. Now, the public is the public. Keyshawn is Keyshawn. His team is his team. This doesn't mean that that's how they're looking at it, but Keyshawn Davis did speak and have an interesting perspective on what he saw coming in this fight. Pretty much told the boxing space that he's going to try to get this guy out of here in the first round. Now, if he does get this guy out in the first round, you can say Keyshawn Davis arguably steamrolls Dennis Berinchyk. But is Dennis Berinchyk a fighter that should be getting looked at as a fighter who can potentially be steamrolled? And could this be the possible derailing of a up-and-coming fighter like Keyshawn Davis to overlook Dennis Berinchyk? I'd have to say Dennis Berinchyk does have the qualities and the pedigree to make this a very difficult fight. And if this fight goes 12 rounds, with Keyshawn Davis attempting to stop him for 12 rounds, and Dennis Berinchyk using his footwork and that IQ he has to move around the ring and have Keyshawn Davis working double, triple, quadruple time trying to stop this fight, this could look bad for Keyshawn Davis, even on the back end of a victory. So one might say that with everything riding on this victory, not only a win, but him winning this fight the right way, there's a lot of pressure on Keyshawn Davis's back in this fight to perform the right way. But now at the same exact time, Keyshawn Davis speaking on Gervonta Tank Davis, saying he'd love to have that fight, encouraging Gervonta Tank Davis and his team to go ahead and send a contract over so that they can fight. He also goes in to say he doesn't need the Gervonta Tank Davis fight, that he'll be fine without Gervonta Tank Davis and will move on and have great fights and build himself a legacy, but he just wants to fight Tank Davis off the strength that he is the current face of 135 pounds. Now, Devin Haney went into the Ryan Garcia fight believing that he needed to clip Ryan Garcia in order to himself be a face of boxing, and he ended up getting clipped himself, chasing Ryan Garcia around the ring. I won't put Devin Haney and Keyshawn Davis in the same conversation, but I'll say this just to kind of bring it full circle to say that it'll be important for Keyshawn Davis to be Keyshawn Davis the night of that fight, to not change it up, to not go in there trying to prove anything, to understand that he's already earned his right to be in the ring with Dennis Berinchek, even earned his right potentially to be in the ring with a Tank Davis just by getting his championship belt. By getting that WBO belt, he becomes a legitimate contender, a legitimate champion in that division who can unify with anybody in that division, and he's in all conversations 135-pound related. He doesn't want to go ahead and become somebody new or let this moment overwhelm him. Now, Keyshawn Davis has shown nothing but poise in the eye of fire, right? In the eye of the attention of the media mass. He does great on the microphone. He does great in front of the cameras. We saw what he did against Gustavo Lemos under all that pressure, with Gustavo Lemos coming in X amount of pounds overweight in front of his own crowd in Norfolk, a sold-out arena, all kind of pressure, and still performed at the highest level and impressed the whole entire arena. But Gustavo Lemos came forward. Dennis Berinchek will probably move around more, will probably be more of a cerebral fight, and Keyshawn needs to be ready for a potential 12-round cerebral fight with Dennis Berinchek, and probably should be tuning out everything else. But if he does look past Dennis Berinchek's ability to make this fight competitive, this night could be a longer night than Keyshawn Davis anticipates. Guys, let me know what you think. Put it in the comment section, because we're looking past Dennis Berinchek, the current WBO 135-pound champion. Doesn't seem to have a lot of conversations about the Dennis Berinchek fight as much as the conversations are about what happens after the Dennis Berinchek fight. This fight's an important fight, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments. I still am going with Keyshawn Davis. I just think there's levels to this game. It's his time. He's a young killer in that ring. He has the greatest minds around him as far as Bomac and Terrence Crawford. He has the poise. He has the power. He has the IQ and pedigree to do what he needs to do. But I do think that he needs to make sure he's focused on the right things going into this fight. Dennis Berinchek in his later 30s, about 36 years old. This guy, you know, he's found his time a little bit late, but those Eastern Europeans are very efficient. You look at Artur Beterbiev right now, damn near 40 years old, the current light heavyweight undisputed champion of the world. Age doesn't always speak clearly about the actual abilities of the fighter who's in the ring there. But this is a big fight for Keyshawn Davis, probably his biggest fight and the most important fight in his whole career, because this fight either debunks him and brings him back down to prospect level, being that he's only 12 fights into his career, or legitimately catapults him into the next chapter of his career, which is world champion Keyshawn Davis. And the opportunities are endless when you're the champion, especially when you got Turki Al-Sheikh in the game right now, doing the things he's doing as well. Let me know what you think in the comments. It's your boy Claymore Rain. It's that ATP Combat Media Show. You guys know what it is. Shout out to Keyshawn Davis. Good luck this weekend. I saw a video of him earlier today, kind of, you know, teasing and trolling at Dennis Berinchek, trying to grab the WBO belt. Look, Dennis Berinchek is dialed in. He doesn't plan on giving that belt up. Keyshawn's going to have to take that belt. We'll see what happens. I believe we got to weigh in. I mean, obviously we got to weigh in on Thursday, and I believe tomorrow we might have a presser going on as well. So we're gonna have a lot of fun watching that. Look, watch out for the reaction video there. Let's see where Keyshawn's mind state is at, if he's gonna allow media to distract him from what the ultimate goal is, what the ultimate assignment is, or can he stay dialed in and focused and be ready for this fight on Friday to walk away new WBO champion. It's your boy Claymore Rain. This is that ATP Combat Media Show. I appreciate all you guys. Once again, shout out to all my subscribers. Now, if this is your first time tapping into content, like I said in the beginning of the video, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, hit your bell icons as well, so you are getting alerts on all this content is dropping. It's your boy Clay. And at this point, we out.